Well, ghosts and ghouls, it's All Hallows Eve. The curtain is down between the world of the living and realm of the dead. Can you smell it? The stench of life? As a kid, there was no better time than Halloween, but as I grew up, I felt a void in me, like a jack-o'-lantern without a candle. Halloween would come around and I'd feel numb. What was happening? Finally, it hit me. As I outgrew Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, and other kid channels soaked in spooky for weeks leading up to Halloween, without TV telling me how to feel, I was lost. Then I heard about Trick or Treat, a movie on the way that promised to be a testament to the holiday. The movie would tell 4 chilling tales, all taking place on the same Halloween night, all intertwining with each other. This wasn't just a horror anthology, but a celebration, something to light a candle in the empty jack-o'-lantern of my soul. It was written and directed by Michael Dougherty, who got his start in animation and illustration, before co-writing a couple of major films in the 2000s, X-Men 2, or X2, and Superman Returns. The first seed for Trick or Treat was planted by Dougherty while at NYU for animation. It came time for his senior thesis film, and he came up with a creepy trick-or-treater and made him the star of an animated short, Season's Greetings. The short is included on the DVD and Blu-ray releases, and I love it from the first frame, because it feels like something that would have aired on TV in the 80s or 90s in October, and actually it was produced in 96. It follows the creepy trick-or-treater wandering town, followed by a strange adult who follows him into an alley and beats him to a pulp. Or wait, actually, the trick-or-treater beat the stranger to a pulp and stuffed him into his candy bag. Wink, smile, and glowing eye reveals this is no ordinary kid, but a supernatural being of some kind, perhaps the spirit of Halloween incarnate. Over the years, the creepy trick-or-treater evolved into Dougherty's character, Sam, taken from the name of the Celtic festival Samhain, which inspired Halloween. Samhain spelled Sam, H-A-I-N, so Sam becomes the perfect name for the Halloween mascot. And that was the idea. So many holidays have a great mascot, but not Halloween, until now. And what better way to entrench Sam into Halloween culture than through a movie with not 1, but 4 chilling tales, all taking place on the same Halloween night, each exploring a different aspect of Halloween for different stages of life. The boy carving a pumpkin with his dad, the kids going out on their first Halloween without their parents, pulling pranks and generally up to no good. In our 20s, it becomes, Brian Cox can say it so much better than me.
To a sexually charged celebration for adolescents and adults.
And finally, there's Halloween for the senior who just wants to be left alone. Now it's time. Prepare for a quadruple overdose of tricks, treats, and terror. Unlike many other anthology films, this one goes back and forth between its stories. Rather than telling one in its entirety and moving on, the stories will also inform each other. You'll think one has ended until a twist in another story changes your understanding of the first. And as the timeline guy, I shudder to say the movie is told non-chronologically. See, I told you it was terrifying. Actually, I really appreciated the movie's non-linear structure. I do think each of the stories could work on their own, but intertwining them makes them all feel like interlocking parts in the whole of Halloween. Rather than 4 fun-sized chunks of the holiday, you have a king-size bar subsuming the entire thing. It also helps with pacing. The stories here are more like ghost stories, short tales to entertain and give you the creeps, largely driven by the sense of curiosity. What messed up thing will happen next? Rather than answering that question, then asking it again with a brand new scenario, then rinse and repeat 4 times, telling the stories out of order allows Dougherty to deal out the reveals at the right pace to hold our attention for 82 minutes. And it just makes for a fun puzzle. It provides rewatch value to spot characters in the background, like Where's Waldo, and just see how it all fits together. For the purposes of this recap, I will largely keep the stories self-contained, but call attention to the interlocking parts when it's important. It starts with an old Trick or Treat safety video, originally compiled for the trailer, but Dougherty liked it so much he put it in the actual movie too. It's honestly the perfect start. The archival footage sets a nostalgic tone, and the idea of Trick or Treat safety sets up the idea that breaking the rules has consequences. And that's the lore behind Sam. If you break any of Halloween's rules, he'll be there to punish you. We meet Henry and Emma, played by Tom O'Pennicott, who was starring in Battlestar Galactica at the time, and Leslie Bibb, who'd follow up this movie with a small but important role in Iron Man, one of the first reporters to really press Tony on the blood spilled by his company's arms dealings, and she's sleeping with him. Henry is big on Halloween, Emma less so. When they get back home, she moves to blow out the jack-o'-lantern candle. Wait! Henry stops her. Not yet. You're supposed to keep it lit. It's an ancient tradition. To hell with that. She blows it out while someone watches, and that someone follows them. As for all the decorations on their porch, yeah, that's gotta come down too. But don't worry, honey, I'll handle it. Why don't you go inside and put on the tape? The tape they like to watch as a sort of mating ritual.
To a sexually charged celebration for adolescents and adults.
Henry waits. He waits so long, he falls asleep. What the hell is going on? Well, while taking down the decorations, Emma was attacked, stabbed by a sharp jack-o'-lantern lollipop with a piece bitten out of it. And now he finds her dead, with that oversized lollipop shoved into her mouth, her lips stretched grotesquely. A great start that sets up those rules. Disrespect Halloween.
I hate Halloween.
Pay with your life. It's a start that also proves Dougherty's passion for the holiday. He's thought about it a lot and found fears to exploit we didn't even know were there. Through Henry's eyes, the decorations are a holiday feast, until Emma cuts through it like a knife. It looks like a crime scene out here. And you realize she's kinda right. What the hell are we doing? Hanging up fake body parts? It's disgusting. Especially once the streets clear and the trick-or-treaters go home. Once you're out there alone in the cold and dark, the decorations do feel grotesque, and you feel anything but safe. Cue the opening credits, showing how all the stories unfolding are actually pages in a comic book. More nostalgia, calling to mind classic 50s horror comics, like Tales from the Crypt from EC Comics. I think Halloween is an inherently nostalgic holiday because its core festivity, dressing up and going trick-or-treating, is something we eventually grow out of. The comic book opening is also important in setting up the comedic tone. This movie definitely goes to some dark places and risks becoming a morbid affair, but it's really all meant to be in good fun. This start is one reminder that you shouldn't take this too seriously. We aren't crafting deep characters who feel real, so we're heartbroken as horrific fates befall them. No, picture this more like you're a kid under the covers, with a flashlight and issue of Tales from the Crypt, or you're sitting around the fire telling ghost stories. Now, let's hear one of those stories. This one is about a school principal named Steve Wilkins and a greedy boy named Charlie. Wilkins is played by Dylan Baker, who for me will always be Dr. Kurt Connors from Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2. We meet Charlie taking less after Charlie Brown, more after Dennis the Menace, smashing pumpkins for no good reason at all. A small example of how Dougherty has crammed Halloween into every frame of this film. Just look at Charlie's candy bag dragged on the sidewalk and all the crunchy fall leaves. Those leaves are an important detail, part of setting the right fall atmosphere. But they filmed in winter, so during pre-production, they collected hundreds of bags of dead leaves they could use to dress the set. Charlie spots the principal's house and in front of it a bowl of candy with that sign we've all seen before. Sorry we're not at home. Help yourself to one piece. Yeah, right. Charlie grabs a whole bunch and, oh, hi, Principal Wilkins. Wilkins sits next to Charlie on the porch and says something surprising. He was just like Charlie as a kid, until his dad set him straight. Taught him how tonight is all about respecting the dead. Something tells me Charlie is going to have a newfound respect for that lot soon. What exactly tells me that? That'd be the sounds of intestinal distress, the ones that began right after Charlie ate some of Wilkins' candy. That's when Wilkins reminds him of a very important rule. Always check your candy. That's when Charlie starts vomiting. A lot. until he passes out, still as the dead. It's one of those Halloween legends, poison or razor blades in the candy. It's why you don't see any real candy in this movie. Instead, it's all made-up brands like Big Fudge Log or Holly Ho. And who should hand out such sinister candy? Dylan Baker was the perfect choice. So good at delivering dialogue that's authoritative, yet soft-spoken, yet dripping with menace.
Smashing jack-o'-lanterns? Stealing candy? It's okay. Believe it or not, I was just like you when I was a kid.
Like the comic book pages at the start of the movie, assuring you none of this should be taken too seriously. The exaggerated stomach noises and absurd amount of vomit tell you it's okay to laugh. Wilkins struggles to carry Charlie into the house, slipping on throw-up, getting some on his shirt, as Charlie apparently isn't done yet. There's even playful, mischievous music that also helps to keep things light. And then, of course, while struggling with the big boy and himself now covered in blood, bile, and partially digested candy, trick-or-treaters at the door. Oh no!
We know you're in there! We can see you!
Get the minute!
When the trick-or-treaters leave, one stays behind for a moment. One we recognize as Sam. He helps himself to a candy bar and heads off, the cat in his candy sack screeching with each thud on the steps to Wilkins' porch. With that taken care of, Wilkins throws the boy in a sack and takes him out back for burial under the garden gnome. From there, it is a comedy of errors. He's interrupted by his son Billy shouting from the second floor, "Dad, when are you going to help me carve the pumpkin?" There's a next-door neighbor, Mr. Krieg's dog, pacified with one of Charlie's fingers. There's Mr. Krieg himself, alerted when it turns out Charlie is alive, and apparently not a fan of having his finger chopped off or getting buried alive. He makes some noise.
Who the hell is that? I got an NRA membership in my pocket and a shotgun over the fireplace. So get out of here!
Wilkins keeps the boy quiet by killing him and talks his way out of suspicion from Krieg. Impressively, this whole scene is shot on a soundstage with a fake yard and two facades, one for Krieg's house and one for Wilkins. Though they were more than just facades, the constructions actually included a good deal of the house interiors. But they were fiscally responsible and saved where they could. In fact, this whole soundstage would be used again for the later rock quarry scene. Finally, time to take care of his petulant little boy, Billy. He takes him to the basement, knife concealed behind his back. He lifts that knife and stabs, then raises it again, now covered not in pumpkin innards, but human blood. Billy's blood? No, Charlie's. It's their father-son tradition, kidnapping naughty trick-or-treaters, chopping off their heads, and carving them up like human jack-o'-lanterns. That's the fun of this movie. Like all good campfire tales, every story has a twist. And in keeping with Halloween tradition, you can't trust anyone. You never know what they're hiding behind the mask. On the surface, a school principal. Behind the glasses, a sadistic killer. The stories also have the scent of urban legend. The kinds of things kids would whisper about in a small town. You know, I hear Principal Wilkins has a bunch of kids buried in his backyard under the gnomes. And the double twist, that his son is not another victim, but an accomplice. Apparently, before the movie came out, they put out publicity photos heavily implying Billy would be a victim of Wilkins, further helping to sell the twist. Huh? Trick-or-treaters already? I don't even have any candy to give out. I guess I'll have to hand out something else instead. I do have some extra Philips Sonicare replacement toothbrush heads. Kids still like when you hand out toothbrushes for Halloween, right? Anyway, let's actually see who's at my door. I'll check my Ring camera. Tony from Hack the Movies. How the hell did he get my address? Anyway, Tony, I don't have any candy. How about I give you a movie instead? I got a bunch of tapes here. Why don't you tell me your favorite horror movie, and I'll have one of my minions send down a copy.
Hi everyone, Woney from Whack the Movies is here. I did like a Wario thing with my name. Anyway, when it comes to Halloween, every year I put on Season 2, Episode 6 of Millennium titled The Curse of Frank Black. It's a really great episode, dives into Frank Black's history a little bit. He's being stalked by a demon, and he's getting subliminal messages that are really cool to go back and watch it a couple times to see all the things you missed. It's a really, really solid episode. And I can feel Gil rolling his eyes, dreading having to look up clips of this show that never streams and that everyone forgot about. So I'm going to do some safe ones. When I used to decorate my house, I used to put a projector outside and play old movies. And one of them, of course, I'm just dropping everything, was Night of the Living Dead and Carnival of Souls, which is a very, very good black and white horror movie. Very trippy ending. It's not like really Halloween, but for whatever reason, I always watch it on Halloween. So Night of the Living Dead and Carnival of Souls are really good black and white horror movies to put on for Halloween. And of course, I watch Halloween, starring Jamie Lee Curtis, but I feel like other people might have said that. So there you go. An episode of a show no one remembers and 2 public domain films. Happy Halloween, everyone.
Gotta love a guy who can follow directions. Tony, what's your favorite horror movie?
Well, I'd say it has to be Millennium Season 2, Episode 6, The Curse of Frank Black.
Not a movie, and we're all very impressed by your niche choice there, Tony. Also, the whole premise is that I'm handing out movies, and of course Tony has to show he already owns all of them, because he just couldn't stand the idea of people questioning his cred. People have to know that I own Millennium Season 2, Episode 6 on DVD. But I see your Sam statue back there, and that's very cool, and obviously very relevant to this video. Happy Halloween, won't-y? Now let's double back to those trick-or-treaters who stopped by Wilkins' house earlier. They're going house to house asking for jack-o'-lanterns, a scavenger hunt for UNICEF. They even stopped by Mrs. Henderson's house, where the cat costume she's wearing is the least provocative thing they see.
I don't even know what that was. Coach Taylor was in a hot dog costume, but fucking a pig, I think.
The kids are led by Macy. Soon they meet up with Schrader, and finally, Rhonda. People make fun of Rhonda. She's different.
She's an idiot savant.
Here she comes.
And seems to have a particular fascination with Halloween. Her house is strewn with jack-o'-lanterns, all carved by her, and she shows an encyclopedic knowledge of the holiday.
Samhain, also known as All Hallows Eve, also known as Halloween. Predating Christianity, the Celtic holiday was...
Though Schrader is kind to her, complimenting her costume, asking about the jack-o'-lanterns, but it's all part of the ruse. You might not realize it on first viewing, but before he starts talking to Rhonda, Macy gives the command. You're on, Schrader. This is all an elaborate prank. They bring her to a rock quarry. Along the way, a shot of the kids walking single file past a pumpkin patch, an homage to Peanuts and possibly to Halloween 3. At the quarry, Macy reminds them all of the legend of the Halloween school bus massacre. 30 years ago, the parents of some disturbed children decided those children are too much of a burden, so they pooled their resources and paid off a bus driver to get rid of them. He chained them up, gave each a piece of candy, and one of the kids who could tell something was off got loose, grabbed the wheel, and unsure how to work the vehicle, drove them off a cliff into the quarry. The bus, those kids, and the driver were never seen again. Maybe they're still down there. In a bit of a cheat, while Macy describes all this, we see in the flashback that the driver did indeed make it out alive. And by the way, when the driver took the turn off their usual route, Sam was there to watch it happen. In fact, he's there in every story, observing, like a horror version of the Watcher from Marvel. Macy's plan? They have 8 jack-o'-lanterns, 1 for each kid who was on that bus 30 years ago. They're going to leave them at the side of the lake as an offering to those who died. The elevator can only hold 3 safely, so Macy heads down with a couple of them first. Chip and Rhonda will have to come down after them. Once it's Rhonda's turn to head down, something wrong. They can't see through the fog below, but they can hear it. Sounds of Macy, Schrader, and Sarah screaming for help. This is one of my favorite moments in the movie. The thick fog with only the light of the jack-o'-lanterns piercing through is already such a memorable and atmospheric image. Add on top of that the claustrophobia trapped in an elevator, but not just any elevator, one surrounded by metal bars, emphasizing just how trapped you are as you're slowly lowered into the mist. It reminded me of the hanging off a bridge scene in The Lost Boys, where the fog is similarly thick and you hear the voices of vampires below, calling out for Michael to join them. Down in the quarry, Rhonda finds the old bus. That image, a crashed bus, half buried in the ground, surrounded by fog, another one that's so memorable, like a classic town urban legend captured in one image. What else does she find? You guessed it, zombie kids. The dead kids from the bus are eating them. Rhonda runs, trips, and hits her head hard. But those zombie kids were just Macy and her friends dressed up in costumes. This was all a prank, meant to terrify Rhonda, not hurt her. But thank God she's okay. That's when it happens. The real zombie kids show up. Macy and the rest of them run. Rhonda gets to the elevator first and locks the gate behind her. "Let us in, please." She feigns like she's thinking about it, but in the end, just hits that button, the one that sends her back to the surface and leaves the others behind as zombie food. Their deaths are tastefully left off camera, though we are treated to the sounds of chomping and screaming. Waiting for Rhonda at the surface is Sam, and they share a mutual look of understanding, the implication being that Sam almost sees a kindred spirit in her, someone who respects the holiday as much as he does. In fact, for all we know, he is the holiday, its personification, the spirit of All Hallows Eve. Now, there's a lot of debate over how to read this ending with regard to Rhonda. Did she know she was killing the other kids? Is she evil? In celebration of the movie's 4K re-release in theaters, Michael Dougherty did a Reddit AMA and actually answered a question about this. Here's what he said. The ending to the rock quarry story is somewhat open to interpretation, but Rhonda is definitely not evil. In fact, I'd say the main takeaway should be that is Rhonda reclaiming her agency and power. Maybe she thought the appearance of the school bus zombie kids was just another cruel prank, or maybe she knew the zombies were real, but either way, she was sick of being tormented by these kids and decided it was best to leave them all behind. He goes on to say that when she looks at Sam, she knows exactly who and what he is. Dougherty also said he likes to think that Rhonda actually is a witch, not necessarily an evil one, and maybe not fully aware of her power, at least not yet. Let me just say this. Rhonda knew what she was doing. Look at this menacing wave as she takes the elevator up. That is clearly a "you're all gonna die now, bye-bye" wave. Having done that wave myself many times before, I know it when I see it. Rhonda's turn at the end is definitely in keeping with the theme of twists at the end of each story. You never know who or where the final scare will come from. Part of what makes this story so effective for me is some of the atmospheric elements I mentioned earlier, but contrasted against that, the ghouls in this instance were so physical and kind of mundane, but in a way that's really effective, because I expected something more ethereal or ghostly, but instead, no, it's just literally zombies here to eat you. Dougherty also thread a fine needle. The kids are obviously jerks, but they're also kids. And most of them, aside from Macy, show some regret and empathy for Rhonda. He doesn't fall into the horror trope of making characters utterly unlikable before killing them, so he retains some of that chill factor. Originally, though, Dougherty saw the story going very differently. His initial concept was based on an episode of The Twilight Zone called The After Hours, where the darndest thing starts happening to a woman named Marcia. The mannequins start talking to her. It takes some time for her to learn the truth. She's one of them. She simply wandered off and forgot. She actually thought she was human for a little while there, until finally returning to her true form as a mannequin. How does that apply to this story? In its original form, the kids are luring another kid to the cemetery instead of a rock quarry, and in the end we realize all those kids are dead. The reason they lured the one kid is because that one kid forgot he too is dead, just like Marcia forgot she was a mannequin. But from 1999 to 2001 alone, at least 2 movies came out with "oh my god, they were dead the whole time" twists. So Dougherty figured it'd be lame to repeat that now. Anyway, creepy stuff, but if you aren't too tired, let's have a look at another tale while the fire is still warm. Another trick-or-treater? Who do we have this time? Oh, it's Crystal, a frequent guest on Hack the Movies, including the monthly livestream panel alongside myself. Well, let's see what spooky tape she wants for Halloween.
Trick or treat! Hey Gil, I was told that you are handing out some movies for Halloween, and I know for a fact you have the one I want because you're talking about it. It's Trick or Treat. So, Trick or Treat is not only one of my favorite movies to watch during Halloween, but it's one of my favorite horror films because it just takes you on this crazy trip with tons of emotions of comedy and horror of these 5 captivating stories that all connect at the end. And I just really love these characters. I also really love to hate some of these characters with some really gratifying kills. The stories are amazing. The acting is great. I have so much fun watching it. And it also gives me such a vibe of Halloween. It's this feel I want to have every year, this traditional Halloween feel. So please, just can you promise me to always wear a costume, always hand out treats, never blow out your jack-o'-lantern, and always check your candy? Can I have my treat now?
And that is how you follow directions. She chose an actual movie and is adhering by the premise that I'm going to be giving her that movie as a treat for Halloween. Tony could learn a thing or two from Crystal, probably a lot of things. Happy Halloween, Gladys, which works out nicely as a sort of closure because Weapons was the first movie I reviewed as part of Month of Terror. Like every Halloween, this town celebrates with a parade of performers and costumed visitors. The idea is based on the Halloween parade that goes on every year in New York City. Actually, in the original script, that's where it was meant to take place. They ended up filming the movie in Vancouver, but by luck, Doherty discovered the Parade of Lost Souls, a group of performers who put on a show every year, and he was able to work with them. It is such a great addition to the movie, and we cut back to it periodically. That helps to retain that sense of fun. So much of the movie is dark and twisted, it's easy to forget. Yeah, that is all part of the Halloween tapestry, but so is having a good time. Cutting back to this parade is a good reminder, and transitioning from the parade to those dark and twisted things gives the sense that you've wandered off the beaten path. You've left the crowd and gone to places you shouldn't. Let's go to one of those places now, the costume shop. 4
sexually charged
young women are putting on costumes in changing rooms where a young boy spies on them, a boy played by Quinn Lord, who also plays Sam. One of the girls, Lori, is a little less experienced than the others, and appropriately dresses as Little Red Riding Hood. She's played, of course, by Anna Paquin from X-Men. While they change, their talk makes it clear they are on the prowl for guys. And this year, that includes Lori. They're gonna find her one. Danielle is the first to pick one up. She nabs the clerk at the costume store. All it takes is a little batting her eyes and an invitation to a party. Meet us in 45 minutes at Sheep's Meadow. All the while, the usual peer pressure. What's the deal, Lori? You're already 22.
Maybe I'm too old-fashioned, but
I've always wanted my first time to be
Please don't say it.
special.
Marie and Janet show her how it's done. They spot a couple of guys hauling equipment.
That's some big equipment you've got there.
And that's the ticket. With their date secured, the 3 girls head to Sheep's Meadow, leaving Lori to find her own date. I love the way Anna Paquin plays this character. You'd expect her to be shy and subdued, but she actually comes across as confident, simply inexperienced in one particular area. Among the crowd of costumed parade goers, there is one man dressed in a black cloak and mask, a sort of vampire. He brings a woman into a dark alley. She is appropriately credited as Allie, and bites her. Bleeding badly, she runs into the crowd for help. She's just drunk, Henry tells Emma. What the? I thought Emma was dead. This happens about half an hour into the movie and is where the movie first blatantly reveals that it's all happening out of chronological order. We see Emma die at the beginning of the movie and now she's up walking around. Anyway, blood at a Halloween parade is easy to miss, easy to assume it's all part of the festivities. So that's where Allie dies, surrounded by people, oblivious to her. Soon, Lori spots a guy in a black cape and a mask. Wait, that sounds familiar. Yeah, the vampire guy. That was like 2 seconds ago. Are you feeling okay? By the way, there's another Lost Boys moment here where Laurie gets a call from her sister Danielle, who is already at Sheep's Meadow where the party is in full swing. And at that party, in the background, you hear Cry Little Sister, essentially the theme song from the Lost Boys. Soon, Laurie makes her way through the woods and oh my god, it's the Cape Mask guy! Paquin's scream here, by the way, is totally genuine. Apparently Doherty has a habit of jumping out to scare people. Back when he worked at Nickelodeon, he would hide under someone's desk, let them settle in, get comfortable, work for a while, and only then, once their guard was down, he'd jump out and scare them. He actually does it to Leslie Bibb on one of the featurettes from the DVD.
He's a Derek Jeter of pranks.
So apparently on set, when Laurie is supposed to see Black Mask Guy, Doherty actually jumped out, scared her, and caught it on camera. So it works out perfectly for the scene. Anyway, the vampire doesn't waste a second.
My, what big eyes you have.
He bites her. Danielle and the others hear her scream and see her body fly into the clearing. Except it's not her body. It's him, the vampire, wrapped in her cloak. He begs for help, and the way he looks always makes me laugh. Like he's got such an exaggerated frown, and the mask with only his chin exposed makes him look so much like Batman, so it just looks so weird. Like Batman wrapped in a red cloak, going, "Help me, please." Then Laurie strolls in. So what the hell is going on here? This is no ordinary party. The women here are all werewolves. They dance, take off their clothes, and take off their skin, all while Sweet Dreams plays. When they talked about Laurie's first, they were talking about her first time eating someone. And if you go back and listen to their conversation in the changing rooms, it's full of double entendres. I ate some bad Mexican. We dressed as sailors and ended up with sailors.
And Maria Sailor was a girl.
So what? She had a nice ass. It all tastes the same to me.
Tastes the same? Get it? They're talking about eating people. Anyway, Laurie needs her first human meal, and this guy, Principal Steve Wilkins, gets the honors. Yeah, taking off the black mask reveals no vampire, just a serial killer named Steve Wilkins. During the Jack-o'-lantern segment, Billy asked his dad if he could take him to the parade later, and Wilkins replied, "No, Daddy has a date." Now we know what he was talking about. He had a date with killing people at a parade. Such a great twist that Little Red Riding Hood is a wolf in disguise. And like the other stories which hit the gas and floored at the end, Doherty takes things so far. The transformations are grotesque and awesome, shedding skin like they're shedding clothes, while also actually shedding clothes. For some reason on the commentary, Doherty says pretty much everyone on the crew wanted to be there while they shot this sequence. I don't know. It's all mostly done with practical effects, just some digital work to make the skin look more real. The wolf getups are a combination of makeup and an animatronic head. It isn't just great in the sense you can appreciate the craftsmanship and how awesome it looks, but in addition to that, given how it comes as a twist that you didn't expect them to be monsters, the more monstrous they can be, the harder it hits. And the fake out works. We keep cutting back to this story of them trying to find her a guy. At one point, Danielle gets so desperate, she finds her this man baby. And yeah, we know something scary will happen, but they introduce the vampire, and you assume that's it, the perfect red herring. Plus, you gotta love a double twist. So even if you figured out the girls are monsters, bet you didn't know this guy was Wilkins. And rewatching when he talks or even just grunts, you can totally tell it's him. Oh, and a couple of Easter eggs. Remember that adult party earlier where the lady was dressed as a cat and there was a guy in a hot dog costume? Turns out she is a werewolf too, and chose the hot dog as her meal. You can see her rolling his body in the woods here. Of course, during all this, there's some werewolf howling, and earlier at the rock quarry, while the kids go down the elevator, they hear howling. So that's one clue into how the timeline all fits together. Werewolves. Another trick-or-treater? This is getting ridiculous. Who do we have this time? Joey, another co-host from the monthly Hack the Movies livestream panel, and owner of the YouTube channel Official Joey C, where, among other things, he examines the quality of various restaurants and Grand Theft Auto games. Hey, someone's got to do it. He must have got my address from Tony. I'm gonna have to move again, damn it. Anyway, in the meantime, Joey, what movie do you want to see this Halloween?
Hey, man! Happy Halloween! Hope everyone's having a good Halloween. Gil, I heard you were handing out movies to trick-or-treaters. Well, guess what? I'm here to claim my movie. One of my favorite movies in general is The Blair Witch Project. And you're probably thinking, hey, Joey C., that's probably the movie that you want to watch every Halloween. No! That's the movie I want to watch every week of the year, not just Halloween. So when Halloween rolls around, I got two movies that I absolutely have to watch. Ernest Scared Stupid and Halloween Town. And a special mention to Don't Look Under the Bed. 3 kids movies, sure. Am I a kid? No. But they're the best festive movies you could possibly watch during Halloween. Halloween Town is an absolute classic. Of course, the Disney Channel original movie. But Ernest Scared Stupid? Chef's kiss, man. It's one of the best Halloween movies ever. It's spooky. It's fun. Everybody loves it, man. Gil, thank you very much. I'm going to go work on my Halloween costume. YouTube.com/officialjoeyc. Alrighty.
Now we come to the final tale. Every street has that guy, the old stay off my lawn guy, the Scrooge. In this tale, that Scrooge is named Mr. Kreeg, and he's played by Brian Cox. We met him earlier during the Jack-o'-lantern segment when he caught Wilkins digging in the backyard. Cox is so perfect in this role. If you're a fan of Succession, this feels like watching Logan Roy battle a supernatural force. It is hilarious and awesome. His story begins with a lot of him bah-humbugging Halloween, scaring off trick-or-treaters rather than giving them treats. Why does he look like John Carpenter, by the way? That was Cox's contribution. He wanted to specifically look like John Carpenter as an homage. After all, he is the director responsible for the movie Halloween.
Given the subject, which is Halloween, it's also an homage. I once met John Carpenter, and he had massive hair and this kind of long, thin nose.
So he put on a wig and a prosthetic nose. Love the look. The character also wheezes constantly, which was also his idea, and it works out nicely since the sequence would be nearly silent otherwise. As the sole character, he really has no one to talk to. This evening finds him burning photos. What's that about? We'll find out soon. And Easter egg! Anna Paquin isn't the only X-Men star to appear here. Of course, there's also Brian Cox, who played William Stryker in X2, but also James Marsden, Cyclops himself. He's the one narrating this Halloween documentary that comes on TV.
Baked goods and crops were left out as offerings for the dead, a custom that is now known as trick-or-treating. Christ.
Soon, noise draws Kreeg's attention. Just someone egging his house, then Spike barking outside. What is he up to? Kreeg can't see what he's chewing on. A human finger, tossed to him by Wilkins. Yes, this moment lines up with Wilkins' story earlier, and then we see Kreeg yelling at him, "What are you doing out here?" Now we see that moment from his perspective. And when he heads back inside...
Happy Halloween!
Screw you!
Wait, let me fix that.
Happy Halloween!
Fuck off!
There. That's better. Back in the house, Kreeg's dog barks at something. The dog's name is Spite, by the way. I thought it was a misspelling in the closed captions, but no, it's not Spike. It's Spite, which is perfect for this character. On his porch, Kreeg finds, what the hell? Someone has covered the place in jack-o'-lanterns, as though to say, you're gonna celebrate Halloween, Mr. Kreeg, and you're gonna like it. Now Spite barks at something upstairs, and the doggy door is still swinging. Something small came through there. Kreeg arms himself with the shotgun, and up those stairs catches a glimpse of it. The thing we know is Sam, and we hear a distressing sound, Spite whimpering and then silent. Remember, Sam did have a cat in his sack earlier, so apparently cruelty to animals is not on his no-no list. Yeah, blowing out a candle before midnight, that'll give you the lollipop treatment, but man's best friend? Sorry. Apparently they did film an alternate ending where the dog lives, but that was just because the dog trainer told them, look, I've worked on a lot of movies, and every time we kill the dog, the note comes back, this dog has to survive. So you might as well just shoot that version of the ending now. But they ended up not having to change it, and in the end, spite doesn't make it. Krieg heads upstairs and finds something moving in his bed. Just a decoration, a small animatronic hand, but not just that. A flaming jack-o'-lantern, writing on the walls. Trick or treat, give me something good to eat. This is a great example of the humor in the movie. The scene is played totally straight, there's ominous music, but what's written on the walls is so childish and absurd. And then Sam stabs Krieg's heel from under the bed, sending him to the floor screaming. This sequence has a few influences. One is another Twilight Zone episode, The Invaders, where a woman battles tiny aliens. That episode, like this sequence, also contains almost no dialogue, but it also borrows from Pet Sematary, especially this moment, because in that movie, an undead kid brutally cuts someone's heel from under the bed. The bleeding Krieg stares in disbelief as the thing crawls onto the bed and shows itself. It looks like a kid in pajamas with a pumpkin head wrapped in a scarecrow's burlap sack, or as we call him, Sam. And Sam shows off his weapon, a candy bar concealing a razor blade. A candy bar he got by trick-or-treating at Wilkins' place earlier. Yes, that principle wasn't just poisoning candy, but also the old urban legend. Razor blades. See, in terms of Halloween, this movie really covers all the bases. Krieg fires the gun, but misses? No, the kid has disappeared. Krieg hobbles down the hall, then slips on candy left by Sam. He tumbles down the stairs and falls on broken glass, cutting into his hands. Then a gumball ominously falls down the stairs. A scene straight out of The Changeling, where a rubber ball comes down the stairs. And apparently, the cameraman who shot the rubber ball scene is the same cameraman who shot this gumball scene for Doherty. Which made it very easy on the director, who could just say, remember what you did in 1980? Do that again. This might be my favorite segment for Brian Cox alone. He is so good in the sequence. The way he plays the pain of all that glass in his hands and fighting through it to try and open the door or operate the shotgun. And I never knew I needed this, but apparently I did. Brian Cox in a sequence that essentially plays like an R-rated Looney Tunes. But instead of Hunter versus Rabbit, it's old man versus a kid in pajamas with a pumpkin head. Sam gets on top of him until Krieg throws him against the wall. Then while Sam is down, he runs to the window and yells to Wilkins for help. In the earlier Wilkins sequence, we did see Krieg calling for help. So this is another one of those moments that's paralleled between the two stories.
Wilkins! Wilkins, help!
Wilkins ignores him and walks inside, though the earlier segment showed he also said this.
Screw you.
Sam attacks again, until Krieg tears off his mask. Ah! That is terrifying. They tussle until Krieg manages to blast him in the face with a shotgun. And remember what I said about Looney Tunes? You get a sort of slide whistle sound effect as he skids across the room. Krieg gets up, and this made me so happy. He shoots him 2 more times. He doesn't do the stupid thing they always do in horror movies, where you knock the bad guy down, then just walk away and assume it's over, leaving yourself totally defenseless. How great is this creature design, by the way? It's more practical effects using animatronics. In general, Doherty was going for an 80s vibe. That's part of what inspired using Cry Little Sister. Even the end credits use an 80s inspired font. And the practical creature design for Sam without his mask screams 80s to me, bringing to mind things like Critters or, appropriately enough, Pumpkinhead. Though honestly, the thing it most reminded me of is a 90s movie, the human xenomorph hybrid from Alien Resurrection. It makes for a great reveal toward the end of the movie, because anytime you see a mask over a supernatural thing, you gotta know what's behind it. And this did not disappoint, though I'm still waiting to find out what the hell Shy Guys look like behind the mask. What the hell are you hiding? As Krieg calls 911, the phone cord is ripped out of the wall. Sam's hand is still alive, like Thing from Addams Family. It skitters across the floor, stabs Krieg again, then returns to its master.
You gotta be fucking kidding me.
A line from The Thing.
You gotta be fucking kidding.
With a simple tap, The hand brings the body back to life. Notice, by the way, how Sam's insides are pumpkin innards. So awesome. Sam, alive again, walks toward Krieg, takes a bite out of a pumpkin lollipop, turning it sharp. Krieg reaches for a bottle on the table, then breaks it to turn it sharp. In doing so, he knocks a discarded candy bar onto his chest. Sam breaks Krieg's hand, tossing away that bottle, then moves to stab the old man, but stabs that candy bar instead, takes a bite, and leaves. I mean, he made it very clear, give me something good to eat. Now, purposefully or not, Krieg has done exactly that. A perfect ending. But it isn't over yet. Remember those photos he was burning? At least one of those photos is him with those kids from the bus. Yeah, he was the bus driver. Another twist. And like the others, it's earned by all the breadcrumbs left behind. In that flashback, the bus driver came out of the water, wheezing just like Krieg. Krieg also has scars on his cheek, matching the cuts on the bus drivers. Chronologically, all of this, Krieg versus Sam, happened toward the beginning. We know that from its overlap with Wilkins' story, and the segment actually begins with a comic book style earlier caption. And now we get a later caption, taking us chronologically to the end. Krieg is all bandaged up, and like Scrooge after a visit from three ghosts, he's found his Halloween spirit, at least as much as he can muster. Kids come to the door, and he gives them candy, all while Sam watches. Then a couple catches Sam's attention. Emma blows out the candle of a jack-o'-lantern. It turns out the beginning of the movie with that couple is actually near the end of the movie, chronologically. One last thing, Krieg killed a bunch of kids. That's not cool. Well, Sam isn't the only vengeful spirit around. There are also those zombie kids. They show up at his door, cut to credits, and comic book pages leave no doubt they tore him apart. Chronologically, the last thing that happens is Henry finding Emma's body. Actually, while Emma is taking down decorations, she spots a creepy guy in a mask. But really, creepier than that are these zombie kids. Those are the kids from the bus after killing Krieger. Some other Where's Waldo moments. After the werewolf girls put on their costumes, they bump into Henry and Emma. In another scene with the werewolves at the parade, you can see Emma's robot costume in the background, out of focus. Later, when Laurie gets the call from Danielle, Emma walks by in the foreground. The robot costume really helps with spotting her. There was supposed to be another Easter egg of sorts, where in the end, we were going to see that the kids who were all killed at the rock quarry are now zombies too, so they would have been walking with them at the end. Speaking of the end, we are now at the end. Michael Dougherty has talked for years about making a sequel. In 2015, around the time his Christmas horror movie Krampus came out, he at least released a comic book follow-up, Trick or Treat, Days of the Dead, which makes a nice pairing with the comic adaptation of the original movie. The sequel comic, like the movie, tells 4 interconnected stories, but instead of taking place on the same night, these stories span centuries, going back to ancient Ireland, the holiday's roots, and even the Old West. The sad part is that in the foreword to the book, Dougherty writes, a proper sequel is very much on the agenda after Krampus finally arrives this Christmas. But hopefully Sam and his menagerie of monsters can keep you company on the printed page until that day comes. And hopefully it won't be another 7 years. Well, now it's been 10. What the hell is going on? In that Reddit AMA, which took place October 8th, 2025, he said this: there's encouraging progress being made. Legendary has been a valuable partner, and we both want to make another film that lives up to or even surpasses the original. That means not putting something out that underwhelms or falls short, because we know everyone's expectations are extremely high. So, the same answer we've been getting for a while. They're working on it, kind of. But some good news. He also says this: I'm working with Legendary Comics on a new graphic novel that will be released next year, entitled Trick or Treat Witching Hours. So that's cool. You know, it kind of feels like once this video is done, Halloween is over, and I almost don't want it to end. Oh, good! A trick-or-treater. That'll stretch out the time. Let's see, who do we have here? Adam from Adam Does Movies, where he can be found giving brutally honest movie reviews with a comedic slant. What movie does Adam want to watch this Halloween? Let's find out.
Hello, Gil and friends. Adam here from Adam Does Movies, throwing out my favorite horror/Halloween film for the season. And that's going to be, of course, John Carpenter's 1982 masterpiece, The Thing. One of the only remakes that justifies its existence. This movie's scary as crap. It's got body horror. It's got dogs ripping each other to pieces. It's got Kurt Russell rocking the greatest man beard ever made. It has a eerie, unsettling vibe taking place in Antarctica with just a small group of people who are not sure if they can trust each other because they have no idea if they're actually humans anymore or an alien in disguise. It's a brilliant film that both set the standards in terms of what you can do to build tension, but also through the craftsmanship on display, through the puppeteering, through the animatronics. It's really quite special, and it's only gotten better with age. Plus, you have, in my opinion, the perfect ending for a horror film where Keith David and Kurt Russell are looking at each other, unsure if the man sitting across is even a man anymore, or if it's the thing itself in disguise. It's a film that you can discuss, it's a film you can dissect, and it has been for over 40 years now. Alright, that's all I got. Happy Halloween, gang.
Well, if you're watching this video when I actually published it, you might be aware this is sort of a finale for One Take's Month of Terror, where I released horror reviews daily from October 1st until Halloween, which, I can't believe I'm saying this, is today. It's honestly surreal to be at the end, because I've been living and breathing horror for weeks. I don't know how to adjust my brain back to normal. I think in my mind, it'll always be Month of Terror. But I'm not complaining at all. This is my favorite holiday, and it has been a blast to be this immersed in Halloween goodness. And I could not have done it without all the people watching, all the supportive comments, motivating me to keep going until the end. The list of movies I was going to review fluctuated throughout the month. I moved things around, replaced some with others, but I always knew it was going to end on this one. I wouldn't say Trick or Treat is the best or my favorite horror movie ever, but it's hard to think of one that tops it in terms of celebrating the actual holiday, not just in the way it's filled with all the right imagery, the dead leaves, a million jack-o'-lanterns, costumes everywhere, but it also just has the right tone. Halloween is supposed to have a dark edge, but it's also supposed to be fun. It's like if holidays had genres, Halloween would definitely be a dark comedy, and it would definitely star Brian Cox. I didn't know that before, but I definitely know it now. And now, what else is there left to say but Happy Halloween. One Take thanks you for watching Month of Terror. By the way, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Those tapes I handed out to those trick-or-treaters earlier, they thought they got treats, but really, I gave each of them a trick. One got the tape from The Ring, another a copy of the Silver Shamrock broadcast from Halloween 3. Then there's the tape from All Hallows Eve, where Art the Clown escapes out of it at the end. As for the last tape, yeah, I found a box of Super 8s in my attic and transferred them all to VHS. I don't know what's on them, but whoever gets that tape is going to find out. Why would I do all this? Well, you might have wondered, what mere mortal could release 31 horror reviews in 1 month? Well, there's your answer right there. I am no mere mortal. I am the devil.
See you in hell, everybody.